Competitiveness of UC graduate programs and its effects on quality education. A presentation by UC Student Worker Union, UAW 2865 Bargaining Team. All data and tables, unless otherwise noted, are from findings from the Graduate Student Support Survey, Trends in the Comparability of Graduate Student Stipends, published by the University of California Office of the President, the Office of the Vice President, Student Affairs, Student Financial Support in 2010. A few warm-up questions to get you thinking. What does competitiveness mean to you? Imagine you are a prospective graduate student. What would make you choose one program over another? And what effects do you think competitiveness of the university's graduate programs have on the university as a whole? If you want to take a minute, you can pause the video and think about this, maybe even write it down, and then unpause the video and continue when you are ready. So what does the new UC President Janet Napolitano say? She says, quote, "I've heard enough to know that if we are to remain a premier research university, we must increase our support for postdoctoral fellows and graduate students. Graduate students and postdocs are the essential links between teaching for California and researching for the world. They are our future faculty members. They are our future innovators. They are our future Nobel laureates. They merit our additional support right now." What does the UC Office of the President say about the current level of competitiveness? It says that offers of financial support have deteriorated relative to offers from top-choice non-UC institutions between 2007 and 2010. This deterioration is driven by decreased funding and is exacerbated by the relatively higher cost of living near UC campuses. We're going to get a bit in-depth going into their report to show exactly what the numbers are. You might want to full screen the video if you haven't already so that you can read these small tables. So these are the top choice non-UC institutions. These are the competitor schools. So as you see from 2004, 2007, and 2010, the same schools are on the list generally most of the time. There might be some change in frequency as to what schools selected more than others, but in general it's about the same 10 schools. So this brings us to the importance of aggregate data. As the previous table showed, we're generally competing against the same top 10 schools over time. And so we want to compare ourselves to the median of these schools, possibly, or maybe even if we decide that we want to be even more competitive, to the top. But what we want to do is we want to consider our position relative to the group as a whole, not just to a single school of our choice. These schools are a mix of both public and private institutions. And so competing really means how we do compared to our top 10 competitor schools as a whole. And here we see how we're doing. So as far as stipends go, University of California campuses versus the competitor schools, we can see that there is a difference between each campus and how much graduate students get paid. But if you look in the very bottom right corner, we see a number there, which is the system-wide comparison. So the UC as a whole, compared to the median of its competitor schools, has a difference of $2,697. That means graduate students get paid almost $3,000 less in the UC than they do in their competitor schools generally. We also have to take into consideration cost of living. In a UC area, it's more expensive. So in 2010, the difference was $2,281 more for living in a UC area. Now when we add that to the net stipend difference, we get a total in the bottom right there for 2010, the total cost of living adjusted difference. This is the competitiveness gap, $4,978. So here we see the reasons that competitor schools were chosen over UC schools. As you can see, the biggest differences are in financial support and availability of affordable housing. So this competitiveness gap of nearly $5,000, this is the main reason that students are going elsewhere. So to summarize, the competitiveness of UC graduate programs is in decline due primarily to economic factors, stipends, and affordable housing. The 2010 report highlights a $4,978 gap versus competitor universities. So what is the effect of this competitiveness gap on the university and on quality education? Well, as UC President Janet Napolitano suggests, grad students are the foundation of this university. As frontline educators, we do the grading. We teach the discussion sections. We hold the office hours to have one-on-one discussions with students. This frees up professors and gives them way more time to do the world-class research that brings in the grant money and brings the university prestige. This makes the university better as a whole, makes it more competitive, and allows the university to charge undergrads higher tuition, which supports the university. When graduate students are negatively impacted, the quality of education suffers, and therefore the entire university suffers. The university is interdependent upon all its different parts, and when one part is not as strongly supported, it can't hold up the other parts. Despite the UC administration publishing a report saying that competitiveness has been on the decline, and that, as we know, this would affect the entire university, the administration still doesn't want to solve this problem. The UCOP lead negotiator Nadine Fischel actually said, "Maybe the university is fine with being 10% behind its competitors." This doesn't sound like somebody that's trying to maintain the excellence of the UC. Even more startling is when we realize why this competitiveness gap exists. In 2001, it cost $3,000 to attend a UC school for a year. In 2008 and 2009, it cost about $6,000. Today, it costs $12,864. From 1993 to 2007, at UC Davis, the number of full-time administrators jumped 318%, while the university actually reduced its full-time instructional research and service staff by 4.5%. Also, between 2004 and 2011, the number of UC employees earning more than $400,000 per year grew by almost 500%. These elite UC employees collect more than $320 million annually. As we've seen, graduate program competitiveness is in decline, but top administrators are making more and more money. This is an issue of priorities. Our budget should reflect our priorities. What is the purpose of the University of California? Is it to educate and to do world-class research, or is it merely to line the pockets of top executives? Where do you want your money going?